In the soft folds of ancient Greece, where the hills roll gently beneath a wide, shimmering sky, there once breathed a quiet world touched by gods and mortals alike. The air holds a subtle sweetness, mingling with the earthy scent of olive trees and wildflowers that sway lazily in the warm, tender breeze. This landscape stretches beyond horizons painted in fading gold and deepening blue, inviting all who wander here to slow their breath, to rest their heart, and to listen deeply to the whispers of time. Among these tranquil hills and valleys lived a boy of extraordinary beauty and gentle spirit, a youth named Hyacinthus, a presence as serene and touching as the soft light of dusk that bathes the world in its calm, ready to close eyes and dream. Hyacinthus's world was a place where the line between the divine and the mortal seemed as delicate as the petals of a freshly bloomed flower, where gods wandered invisibly between the spaces of trees and stones, their footsteps silent and secrets deep. Here the radiant Apollo, the god of light, music, and prophecy, moved like a warm sunbeam fallen just upon the earth, his golden hair glowing softly like rippling wheat under the afternoon sun. Apollo watched over the lands with quiet affection, his presence a gentle guardian's touch, and his heart quietly captivated by the gentle youth whose laughter was as clear and refreshing as flowing water over smooth stones. The friendship between Apollo and Hyacinthus was woven with a tender kind of grace. It was not hurried or loud, but slow and steady like the rhythm of the tides or the soft unfolding of a blossom in the morning light. Often their days were spent in peaceful delight beneath the vast, endless sky, where Apollo would teach Hyacinthus to play the lyre, each note a delicate thread connecting the celestial to the earthly. Their voices sometimes rose in harmony, mingling with the gentle breezes and the rustling leaves, a song that seemed to rise from the very soul of the earth itself. At other times they would wander through the vibrant fields dotted with wildflowers, pale lilies, deep violets, and soft red poppies dancing quietly among the grass, simply sharing the silent joy of companionship, hearts open and safe. Life in this gentle world moved with a rhythm untroubled by the frantic pace of later days or the harsh shadows of sorrow yet to come. The laughter of Hyacinthus was like a soothing balm, a lilting melody that drifted lazily on warm air, wrapping all in a comforting cocoon of ease and delight. It was a laughter that brought lightness to the steady beat of Apollo's immortal heart, a connection unspoken but deeply felt, like the soft pulse of twilight enfolding the earth. Nearby, the olive branches whispered ancient secrets, and the distant mountains stood sentinel, their peaks bathed in the pale silver glow of approaching night. In this serene paradise, where every small moment seemed to blossom into something eternal, the world itself paused to breathe in the sweetness of youth and innocence. Dew still clung to the grasses, holding within tiny, shimmering worlds of light, and the first stars began to twinkle shyly, casting an ethereal veil over the landscape. It was a time and place where dreams were born quietly with the coming dusk, where every color seemed richer and every sound softer, inviting the soul to drift beneath the canopy of night like a petal gently falling onto calm water. And so it was, in this realm of soft light and whispered memories, that the story of Hyacinthus began, not with thunder or turmoil, but with stillness, with the serene unfolding of a friendship that bridged mortal and God, with the gentle touch of fate weaving slowly forward in the warm embrace of a tranquil Greek afternoon, fragile and radiant as a flower yet to bloom. Here, beneath the wide sky and the watching stars, the tale would unfold, delicate and deep, as gentle as breath, and as enduring as the earth itself. Time drifted gently onward in the golden embrace of the ancient Greek landscape as Apollo and Hyacinthus grew ever closer, their days woven together like strands of sunlight threading through the olive groves. They wandered beneath endless skies of soft blue, where the air was fragrant with the scent of blooming wildflowers, and the sweet whisper of the breeze carried distant murmurs of the sea. Apollo, with his radiant countenance glowing as if lit from within by an eternal flame, found in Hyacinthus not only beauty, but a quiet solace, a companion whose laughter filled the spaces where silence might have otherwise dwelled. In return, Hyacinthus, a youth of rare charm and gentle spirit, felt safe in the god's luminous presence, his heart swelling with a tender joy that was as deep as the tranquil lakeside where they often leaned against the warm earth, watching the clouds drift lazily by. On those long and languid afternoons they spoke little, their bond wordless but profound, a communion of glances and shared breaths that spoke more eloquently than any speech. The sun would hang low against a canvas brushed with soft strokes of lavender and rose, and the world seemed to hold its breath in awe of this rare, quiet union. Apollo would sometimes pluck a lyre from his shoulder and let his fingers trace delicate melodies, notes falling like shimmering dewdrops upon the earth, while Hyacinthus closed his eyes and felt the music pulse through his veins, a gentle tide lapping at the shores of his soul. The gods' songs told tales of the heavens and the earth, of gods and mortals, of beauty and eternity, each note a tender caress that carried the promise of dreams that floated beyond the stars. Hyacinthus basked in this delicate affection, unaware, yet, that beneath the serene surface of their days lay an unspoken fragility. For in a world where gods moved with swift and certain power, the moment's peace could be as fleeting as a whisper on the wind. But such thoughts were distant on those softly painted evenings as the pair practiced the gentle art of companionship beneath the unfolding sky. Among the hills, white clouds sailed lazily, casting fleeting shadows that melted into the grass, while gentle breezes stirred the tall reeds along the shore, their rustling sound a lullaby for the vast world. Apollo would occasionally teach Hyacinthus how to wield the discus, a game of grace and strength, their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. It was one such afternoon, when the sun was beginning to sink, and the air grew sweeter with the scent of thyme and wild mint, that tragedy steeped the quiet beauty in sorrow. The two friends, full of radiant youth and glowing vitality, stood ready to begin a friendly contest of throwing the discus across the meadow. Apollo, graceful and sure, released the gleaming disc, spinning it through the air with the precision and power of a god. Hyacinthus, his lips curved in a gentle smile, prepared to do the same. The warm wind flowed over the land, slowing the time as the sun dipped just a shade lower, dappling the grass with streaks of liquid gold. But fate, in the guise of unseen force or cruel accident, seized the disk as it arced towards him in a slender flight, its edge turning sharply in the breeze, and it struck Hyacinthus with a suddenness that startled the very air. The laughter died in Apollo's throat, replaced instantly by a choking silence broken only by the soft rustle of leaves and the whisper of the wind. Time seemed to pause as he ran to his beloved friend, cradling Hyacinthus as life ebbed like a fading flame. The youth's eyes, still bright but dimming with pain, met Apollo's own, and in that gaze was a mix of trust, love, and the fragile beauty of fleeting mortality. The god's golden hands trembled as he sought to stave off the inevitable, his heart aching with a grief that shook the foundations of the earth itself. The world held its breath, the fields and skies mourning in hush alongside the radiant god. Apollo's anguish grew too vast for tears alone. His lament echoed across the hills and valleys, a melody of sorrow carried like a lament on the morning breeze. He knelt among the wildflowers, brushing his fingertips gently over the earth, where Hyacinthus's body now lay silent, his breath no longer whispering to the wind. Then, in that moment of profound grief, where sorrow and love brimmed and overflowed, Apollo's grief took shape in a tender miracle. From the blood-stained soil where his beloved lay, delicate petals began to unfurl, trembling open like the first sighs of dawn. The flower, deep purple and vibrant, held within its heart the bittersweet memory of Hyacinthus, a living remnant of beauty born from heartbreak. The new bloom caught the last light of the sinking sun, its delicate petals shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Apollo touched it reverently, his hands both blessing and mourning, as he vowed that this flower would forever bear the name of Hyacinthus. The hyacinth became more than a blossom. It was a symbol of love unbroken by death, a reminder that even in loss, something beautiful might endure. Each petal seemed to whisper the story of their bond, a tale of fleeting youth, radiant love, and the fragile dance of mortality beneath the watchful eyes of gods. And as twilight deepened, wrapping the world in a gentle cloak of indigo, the flower stood serene and silent, a testament to a love that transcended the boundaries of life, holding within its fragile grace the echo of a heart that would never cease to beat in memory. As the warmth of the golden sun began to fade beyond the rolling hills, the air grew still, carrying a gentle hush across the quiet fields where once laughter had danced so freely. The sky deepened into a soft twilight, painted in shades of lavender and rose, as if the whole world were whispering a quiet farewell to the day. In this gentle, waning light, Apollo knelt beside the still form of Hyacinthus, his heart heavy with a sorrow so profound it seemed to fill the very air around him. The god of light and music, who so often brought joy to the earth with his lyre's sweet melodies, now found his song quieted by loss. The soft breeze stirred the young mortal's hair, ruffling the delicate strands as if nature itself leaned in to grieve. Apollo's hands, usually so sure and commanding, trembled gently as they brushed the earth where Hyacinthus had fallen. In this moment the lines between divine and mortal felt thin, like fragile threads, sparkling briefly before dissolving into the vastness of the sky. The silence held a sacred space for remembrance, a pause deep enough for the world itself to hold its breath. The god's gaze lingered on the youth's face, where the gentle sweetness of a smile still seemed to linger, touched by the soft shadow of a dream unfinished, and in his silence there was a quiet prayer, not for the undoing of fate, but in humble acceptance of the delicate, fleeting beauty of life. From the depths of that serene sorrow, a small, tender miracle began to bloom. Where Hyacinthus's blood had mingled with the earth, a flower unfolded its petals, soft, and velvety, catching the dimming light like a precious memory made visible. The petals were a gentle blend of deep violet and blush pink, colours that seemed to hold the very essence of the emotions swirling around the scene: love, loss, and the quiet, enduring presence that grief leaves behind. This flower, so modest and yet so luminous, became a new beginning, a silent witness to the bond that transcended time and form. Apollo, with eyes full of both tears and awe, gathered the delicate bloom as if it were the most fragile offering the world could give. He spoke then, not with words carried on the wind, but with a soft song that filled the twilight air, a melody shaped by remembrance and the promise that love's echo could never truly fade. The music wove itself gently through the trees and over the hills, a lullaby for a world learning to hold both joy and sorrow with equal grace. The flower, which would forever bear the name of his dear friend, became a symbol, a quiet, enduring testament to the beauty found even in endings. As night settled deep and the stars began to shimmer with their ancient, steady light, Apollo remained by the flower's side, sharing his silent vigil with the world hushed around him. The steady rhythm of his heart, the calm breath of the evening air, and the subtle fragrance of the hyacinth intertwined, creating a timeless moment suspended between worlds. There was no rush to leave this place, no haste to blot out the pain. Instead, there was a peaceful honoring of a story both tender and true. Before long, the skies darkened fully into night, a vault heavy with a blanket of stars that seemed to pulse softly with ancient light. The moon glided in slowly, bathing the fields in a cool silver sheen that was both soothing and sacred. Under this gentle glow, Apollo whispered his final farewell, a promise carried not on the wind but nestled deep within the heart, that where love once blossomed it would always find a way to bloom again. The hyacinth stood quietly in the moonlight, a beacon of memory, a promise of renewal, and a gentle reminder to all who would listen that even in loss there is an enduring kind of grace. And now, dear listener, as your own day draws quietly to a close, feel the calm warmth of the sun fading gently within you. Let the soft petals of this ancient story brush against your mind like a tender lullaby. Imagine the fragrant air of the fields where gods once walked so softly, where the sky stretched endlessly and the earth cradled its stories beneath the stars. There is a gentle peace in knowing that love, even when touched by sorrow, leaves behind a beauty that can be carried gently in the heart. So, as your breath smooths deeper and your thoughts slow like drifting clouds, carry with you the quiet grace of the hyacinth. Let its gentle colours soothe you, its fragrance fill your dreams, and its story remind you that within every ending dwells the seed of another beginning. Rest now in this tender stillness, wrapped in the soft embrace of night, where myths breathe gently and dreams bloom like flowers beneath the moon's watchful gaze. Sleep softly, knowing all is at peace. The earth is still, the stars keep their silent vigil, and a promise blooms quietly, just for you. Good night.